Welcome to Finding Holiness, where we delve into timeless Torah wisdom, revealing the sacred in everyday moments. Join us on a journey to elevate your spirituality and discover holiness in every aspect of life. I'm your host, Rabbi David Kadosh, and together, let's embark on a path of spiritual exploration. I hope you enjoy this next episode. Okay. Erev Tov, everyone. Continuing with the laws of Lashon Hara, we're on Klal Hey, Halacha Zayin. We're going to finish Klal Hey today, Bezrat Hashem. We'll sum it up and we'll maybe even begin Klal Vav. So, Chafetz Chaim now is going to give us a little bit of a chidush. Not it's a chidush, but until now we've been speaking more about Lashon Hara between people. Look what he says in Halacha Zayin. Veda shekshem she'asu leotzi diba al havero. Just like it's forbidden to speak negatively about a fellow Jew, ken al hafasav asu leotzi diba. Similarly, it's forbidden to speak negatively about a person's stuff, his merchandise. V'zeh matzui me'od ba'avonotenu harabim. It's very common. She'chenvani echad motzi diba al nichseh chenvani acher. You have one merchant, one store owner who speaks negatively about another merchant's products. And he would or make similar remarks simply because of jealousy. This is Lashon Hara mamash from the Torah. So it's not just to speak about the person. You own an electronic shop and you speak negatively about that guy's electronics and the merchandise that he owns, also Lashon Hara. So they bring here two scenarios here at the bottom, scenario E and F. Scenario E, at a shul kiddush, someone mentions that the sushi is much better than some she ate recently at a new sushi cafe. Another person complains about the cafe service. These negative reports about a business can cost the owner customers, income, and perhaps parnasa, and are Lashon Hara. Now that is something that you've definitely heard before. Okay, that type of talk, and it is Lashon Hara. Scenario F, you stand in a frozen food aisle, confused about the various brands of puff pastry. I, for one, am very confused whenever I see puff pastry. I have no idea which one to buy. There's so many different types. Anyways, your neighbor comes along, and you ask her which brand to buy. Telling you which brand she prefers without deriding other brands is not Lashon Hara. This is true as well with caterers, stores, food products, and in many other cases. So that's the way to really answer a question as such. What do you think of, what's a good meat restaurant here in the city? You come new. So say what you like. Say, I enjoy going to this restaurant, they have great food. Don't say, avoid that place, don't go there. I didn't ask you, right? Why do you have to spit out the negative information for? So that's a very, very practical halakha. Halakha chet, he says, Isur sipur lashon hara. The prohibition of speaking Lashon Hara, she'asra Torah lesaper bignut chavero, which the Torah forbade to speak negatively about a fellow Jew. Afilu al emet, even if it's true. Hu afilu beichidi, applies even if he is the only speaker. Kol sheken lesaper bishnayim dvar gnut al chavero de asur. It is forbidden all the more so kal vachomer to speak Lashon Hara with a second speaker. So you're in a tag team, you and another guy, talking about, so you have Reuven and Levi talking about Shimon. Misken Shimon is always the guy getting spoken about. When you do so as a tag team, your Averah is worse than if you speak alone. The reason is because the listeners are more inclined to listen to two people than they are listening to one person. And therefore, the subject, Shimon, will be degraded in their eyes when they hear the matter expressed by two people. Anywhere where we write in this book and elsewhere, I guess, without specifying the Isur Lashon Hara, it means under any circumstances, even with two speakers, unless we specify otherwise. So just to summarize Klal Hey, we spent the last few classes talking about it. Here's 6 points to summarize Klal Hey. Number 1, a person may not speak of another's misdeeds in a case where the subject did not physically or monetarily harm someone, but just refused to do him a favor, such as extending him a loan. If the speaker himself had requested the loan, he transgresses the prohibition of do not bear a grudge, and if his intention is to take revenge, he transgresses also the prohibition of do not take revenge. Number 2, at times it's permitted to speak of someone's sins, even if he's not a rasha, due to a passion to uphold the truth. That means to discourage others from following in the sinner's ways. This consideration does not apply where the subject acted in an unkind way to his fellow, but did not actually harm him. Number 3, it's forbidden to speak of someone's shortcomings, even if the report is true. This is prohibited not only because it's disparaging, but because it might cause him harm. So a person may not, A, brand someone as having average intelligence in either spiritual or mundane pursuits. We talked about calling somebody a hamor. Okay, that's not good. B, refer to someone as physically weak if his livelihood depends upon his strength. Or C, assert that someone is not affluent if this will cause him financial loss, for example, by limiting his ability to procure a loan. 4, a report is determined to be demeaning by the circumstances pertaining to the subject of the report, not to the speaker. So that was yesterday. We talked about, that guy, that kollel guy, he learns 3-4 hours a day. That's negative to the kollel guy, because he should be learning all day. But if you compare it to yourself, I wish I can learn. If someone says that I learn 3 to 4 hours a day, chazaku baruch, it's a compliment to me. But you're talking about the kollel guy. So if you're talking about the kollel guy, you don't compare it to yourself. It would be Lashon Hara. It is forbidden to speak negatively about another person's merchandise when that can cause him financial harm. And the prohibition against speaking Lashon Hara is more severe when 2 people speak Lashon Hara together. That concludes Klal Hey.
If somebody leaves a negative review, is that a skill?
I went in depth about that in Seudah Shishit one week. Certainly it will probably fall into that last halacha. The question is, if you are doing it to prevent someone, if you had a very, very bad experience and your friend came up to you and said, I want to use this guy. And so you can tell him, listen, this is what you need to watch out for. There's nothing wrong with that. The Chafetz Chaim already explained. But I think the problem with it is today is that you're going on Google reviews or Yelp or Facebook and you're putting this review of a restaurant. That's your own personal subjective opinion about the place, and now you're spreading it to millions of people who are going to be coming across that guy's webpage or that Google search, and it's chaval. Like it really can it's degrading and it can diminish his parnasa. And I am not for negative reviews. It's kimat almost never allowed, in my opinion, unless it's one-on-one. The person asks you, can I use this plumber or this electrician, and he really did a horrible job and cost you a lot of money, then maybe in that situation, for his benefit, for his toilet, it's fine.
Wasn't there a toilet for the whole public?
No, because you had a bad experience. That does not necessarily mean that you didn't like the food. Maybe other people like the food. Like it's.
Okay, something like that. But let's say like the plumber situation, where the guy came and destroyed you.
So I think, if I remember correctly, what we spoke about, I think it was last year already, or maybe even a bit more. If you're on like a specific plumbing group, where you know that people are looking for plumbers, then maybe in that situation there might be a room to be a little bit lenient and say, I didn't have a good experience with this guy. And whatever you say has to be emet. It cannot be exaggerative. That's another thing that we spoke about. But if it's on a general group, an everything Jewish Toronto group like we have here on Facebook, that's 200,000 members or something like that, then don't post that. Don't post that over there, definitely. Okay. Let's do the one halacha in Klal Vav. So halacha Aleph, asur lekabel lashon hara min haTorah. You're not allowed to accept lashon hara. So Reuven speaks about Shimon. Levi heard he cannot accept it. Ben shu me'advarim sheben adam lamakom. Whether the negative account that was said about Shimon is about sins that he did between him and Hashem, or me'advarim sheben adam lachavero, or matters between ben adam lachavero. Dehainu shelo na'amin belibenu she'asipur hu emet. We cannot believe in our hearts that this negative account is true. Through doing so, the party who Lashon Hara has been spoken about, poor Shimon, is debased. And a person cannot even believe it, even if he remains silent and he doesn't explicitly tell Reuven, the speaker, that I believe it. So you remain silent and you believe it, that's also asur. For otherwise, if Levi does tell Reuven that he believes it. Hareu shoneh ta'avon bechiflaim. He's committing a twofold lashon hara. He's doubling his avera. Shu mesaper umkabel. He's both a speaker and an acceptor. You're right. Shimon is this, and then this. Okay, so now you also spoke lashon hara. So you did two averot. Ve'amekabel, one who accepts lashon hara, over belo ta'aseh, he violates a negative commandment. Shneimar lo tisa shem hashav. You shall not accept a false report. This was actually in last week's parasha Mishpatim. Ve'amru chachamenu b'mechilta, and the chachamim said in the midrash, shezohi azhara lamekabel lashon hara. This is a warning, an admonition to someone who accepts lashon hara. Ulvad she'ar lavin ba'asina mitzarfin lazeh. Apart from all the other negative and positive commandments that is associated with accepting lashon hara, kemo shekatavnu le'el bepticha, of course, that we spoke about in the introduction way back when. Ve'amru Chazal, the Chachamim said in the Gemara, Shekol ha'mekabel lashon hara ra'ui lashlicho lakelavim. Anybody who accepts lashon hara, this man deserves to be thrown to the dogs. Shneimar lo tisa shem hashav, as the pasuk said again last week's parasha, don't accept a false report. Usmichle, and it's juxtaposed. The next pasuk is lakelef tashlichun oto. To the dog you shall throw the animal carcass. So therefore we see that someone who accepts lashon hara deserves to be thrown to the dogs. O damru, more than that they said, shegadol onesh hamekabelo yoter min omro. The punishment for a person who accepts lashon hara is more severe than that who speaks it. Because the one who speaks it, if he speaks it to the guy and he doesn't accept it, the lashon hara stops there. But now that you've accepted it, you're now branching it on to more and more potential listeners. Chas v'shalom. Okay, we'll stop here and we'll continue B'ezrat Hashem next time.